Okay, so an interesting conversation with a couple of sheeple on Facebook. And I just realized the first part of the conversation, you know how it says see more when you're viewing the conversation? You have to click the button for it to show the whole conversation or the whole reply. And I missed a few of those. So I got some of what they said, but then it says see more, and I can't click it. It's too late. It's gone. So essentially, my wife is part of a homeschool group, and they get together sometimes, and they go to a park, and they play different games and things with all the kids. And there was a lady there with her kids, of course, that invited my wife at some point to play capture the flag at this park or whatever. So she, says, "Oh, hit me up on Facebook, and I'll friend you or whatever, and we can, figure out when we want to do stuff, whatever, that kind of thing." So she does. So Evelyn notices that she posts a thing about Donald Trump. It says, "Wow, my blood boiled reading this. Not only has Trump been quoted as saying about Jeffrey Epstein, a level 3 registered sex offender. I've known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It is even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side. No doubt about it, Jeffrey enjoys his social life." End quote. "But there is a witness to the child rape allegation. This cannot be ignored," she says. Why the new child rape case filed against Donald Trump should not be ignored. And it's a post. Wasn't that from a Huffington Post? Yeah. It was from yeah, it is. Actually, there's the link. From Huffington Post. Now, you will recall a little while back, I did a video about these people at the Huffington Post. They were, from start to finish with Donald Trump, they've been all over this guy. And I'm like, man, what the hell's up with the Huffington Post? Hillary's great. Hillary's a god, but Donald Trump is, the devil. And I look and I find this photo of the editorial board for the entire Huffington Post company. And it's full of these women. And I remember doing a little green screen. I was like in the back saying, "Hey, I don't have a laptop. You guys all have nice laptops. Can I get one?" Joking around. So, not even one man. And I don't even know if there was a black lady in there. It was like, a couple Asian girls and all white, people, if I isn't that strange? Isn't that an interesting statistic for the Huffington Post, of all places? Equal rights and everything. So it's the Huffington Post that's spewing this. I've already determined the Huffington Post is completely biased and will do anything to make Donald Trump look bad. I've already did the research, and in that video, I showed a bunch of things. They've got him. Donald Trump, here's all the 10 things you need to know. And I'm going down, I'm looking at them. Okay, there's no proof of that at all. This is complete hearsay over here. 3, you're talking about him, the blackjack card dealer that was a black guy, and he had a high-level big player come in and said, "I don't want a black guy as my card dealer." And I made the point. Number one, Donald Trump's not there. He's not like, they're, overseeing what's happening. You've got managers in place. And your managers, and I said this then, I'll say it again. You own a business establishment and some high roller comes in to spend some sick money with you and has a request. I don't like blackjack dealers. Matter of fact, I want a female or a redhead or whatever. Yes, sir, we'll take care of that for you. Number one, he can't be racist if he's already got a black guy working for him. But, again, taken way out of context, Huffington Post. So anyway, my wife sees this nonsense and says, come on. So she starts posting several factual things about the Clintons and Hillary and whatnot. And she gets a reply back. And this is the next few are going to be the ones that I missed hitting the see more button. I wish I would have grabbed all of it because I just copied and pasted this in here. Evelyn, you crack me up. 1, I don't see any of these viewpoints on your own page. 2, had I seen any of these viewpoints on your own page, I would have just unfriended you, or at the very least, unfollowed you. 3, I added you as a friend so that, and then that's where it breaks off. But she said, because I remember reading it, I added you as a friend for the sole purpose of us communicating for our kids to go play. So no, and even basically said, you're not a friend. You're not one of my real life friends. So you're not allowed to post this stuff on my page anyways.
Wasn't that nice of me?
Yeah. And wasn't that nice of me to invite you over into my, on my friend page of Facebook, be a friend? And wasn't that nice of me? Was her response. Who would say that to somebody? You posted this, and anybody that you've allowed into your Facebook world can see it. So my wife just replied back. In other words, hey, you have something bad to say over here? We got something bad to rebuke that and rebuttal it. So my wife says, I'm not being mean to anyone, and you shouldn't have to agree in politics in order to be friends or get along with somebody. You posted something about Trump on a public page for anyone to see and respond to. My whole point was that Hillary is far from, and it cuts off again, something she says, far from innocent, essentially. And then she replies back, I posted on my wall, not a public page. You happen to be friends with me, like I said, for a particular circumstance. With my real friends, that is, people I actually know and talk to on a regular basis, I absolutely have that unspoken agreement that and it cuts off again. So my wife replies, so if we're not real friends, we have to be on the same page? But if we are, so if we're not real friends, we have to be on the same page. But if we are real friends, we can have a differing view? ? I have those memes saved up from actually different friends posting them. My friends and most of those on my Facebook page know the real me. She replies back, you're missing the point. Here are the facts. Trump has been accused of rape. That's what I was posting on my page. If you have a different view on that, I would like to hear it. Spamming me about why you do not like Hillary Clinton is not okay since, again, it cuts off again. Because again, she didn't just reply back with Hillary Clinton related to rape. Number one, Hillary has nothing against her about rape, but her husband, on the other hand, holy crap. So, this one little thing they're talking about, you know who her husband is, right? Mr. Rapist himself? Holy crap. Anyways, that wasn't part of the conversation. I'm saying that now. So she says, okay, here is something about the rape he is accused of. So she sends a link for you to look at, whatever. And she says, Huffington Post is a known Hillary supporter, my wife says this, and one of the most abjectly left-wing news sites on the web. And she sends a link to Breitbart and some other stuff. So then one of her friends comes in, named Kevin. Kevin says, Evelyn, how is it that you think that Trump doesn't represent the elite? Because she went on in one of the comments I got cut off, saying that the Clintons are the elite, have them in their back pocket. So Kevin says, how do you know that Trump doesn't represent the elite? He is one of the elite himself. As for your paranoia of a new world order, that is just ridiculous. Besides, that could mean anything. Because again, in her post, again, it's cut off. She talks about this. The Clintons, they're pushing the new world order agenda, just like the rest of them, etc. Trump has no proof whatsoever, or at least anything pointing that Trump is trying to push that. So that's why he responded that way. As for your paranoia of the new world order, that is just ridiculous. Besides, that could mean anything. What if and damn it, I wish I didn't have to hit Seymour on this one, because he says, what if the new order was a system where people, basically democracy works for everybody, people have a voice, basically the spin, the big spin you'd expect to hear from a politician. This wonderful place where everyone is treated fairly, everybody has the right to vote, all this stuff. And
he said we need a new world order.
Yeah, we would need this. We need a new world order, actually. So she says, Kevin, I don't support the left or right parties. Because, again, they start getting the whole Republican-Democrat thing. I don't support the left or right parties. They are like pro wrestling. They put on a good show, but after the show is over, they go out for drinks and have a good old time. There is no left or right. There is no Republican view or Democratic view. Just look at everything the club wanted to pass over the last 8 years. Both sides seem to come together just when they need something to pass. And she says in another post, my wife, wasn't it George Bush Sr. that gave the New World Order speech in 1990 or 1991? This Republican and his Democrat friends, just like the Clintons, are all for this New World Order. Just look at the so-called free trade agreements both sides have shoved down our throats. So he says, tell me specifically what it is that you think this New World Order is. Then give a source for that information. Otherwise, you are only speaking from paranoia, fear, or something changing, but you know not what. So she says, speaking of, because when he said his comment about the New World Order would be good and everyone would have a chance to participate in government, and was one of the quotes he said. So she says, speaking of participation in government for the people, how is that working out for the EU zone? You know, where 28 nations submit to the will of unelected officials at the EU. And finally, via the Brexit vote, the UK decided to leave. And again, it gets cut off again. I wish I would have noticed that before I saved this, because we can't go back to the page now. We're already off that list. We are not, unfriended. So he's asking for, how do you know about this New World Order, this and that. So we sent him a link to some of the greatest quotes of all the politicians out there who have ever talked about we need a New World Order. It's got Henry Kissinger, Bush Sr., Bush Jr., Clinton, Bill Clinton, you know who. And then she posts some of the quotes, top New World Order quotes. The one where in Rockefeller's book, his little, at the end of his book, he says, we are grateful to the Washington Post, the New York Times, and other great publications whose directors have attended our meetings and respected, kept it secret, whatever. And then, the next part where he says, some have called me, globalist or something, and that I'm not for American principles and not for the American Constitution or whatever, and I'm for a system of world government and this and that. Well, if that's the case, then you found me guilty. You can find me guilty. He says it in his own book, in the end of that book. So we're posting, this here's some information for you to see. And he's like, no, seriously, answer the question. And she replies back, notice, as I said, both the left, right, and some elitists, for your viewing pleasure, all from mainstream video cameras. They're on film saying these things. And we reply again, I just posted a video with mainstream media being shown and quoted from their own sources. What, was that not up to par? And I said, the video was a 5-minute clip. So she said, all you ever asked for in less than 5 minutes. In other words, because how people get, I don't have time to watch that. It's less than 5 minutes. And she says, also, you commented about a new world order in which there was good access to healthcare, economic equality. Those were the things he quoted earlier. Did you know that this will be, and this is her telling him that, did you know that this will be the 4th time in a row insurance rates will be rising year after year, and double-digit increases at that? Also, it will cost $18 billion more in taxpayer funding to keep the Obamacare exchanges going this year after a miserable 11 million people actually signing up. In other words, healthcare, economic equality. We're being raped on this Obama health insurance period. Healthcare, how's that working out for everybody? And she replies again and says, our national debt increased from $9 trillion 8 years ago to $19.2 trillion. Is this also the New World Order plan? Asking him that. Is this part of that plan, this great plan that you foresee? The same people that got us into this mess are also pushing for this New World Order, she says. So he replies, laughing out loud, LOL. Did you watch the video? Other than the I guess he's quoting her, other than the paranoia about the term New World Order, what do you take issue with? Do you take issue in what these people said? And no, you have not specifically defined what it is that you think this New World Order is supposed to be or why you are so concerned with it. So I'll give you what we think it is based off of these people. A New World Order is a larger, as in worldwide system like the EU, where unelected officials make rules and laws for all member nations. These member nations have no say whatsoever in anything that these unelected people do. And there's some more, but again, it's cut off. I can't click this stupid thing. So he said, he quotes what we just said about the unelected people, and he says, where do you get this idea? And maybe something else, but it says see more. I can't click it. She says, I have for the past 11 years, where do you get this idea? And he has some other stuff. And she says, I have for the last 11 years of my life, me included. They are all crooked, all corrupt. And if that alone is true, talking about these people that are pushing the New World Order, anything they offer should be stopped before it can even be started, such as their New World Order agenda. You hear Papa Bush say it himself. When we have this New World Order, and when it's successful, and it will be successful. And he goes on to talk about the law of the land, where nations have to abide by the rule of law, not the law of the jungle. And he mentioned something about like a governing body or something in that speech. So that's kind of what we started to say next. Well, hold on. Who's going to make the nations accountable? Nations are already accountable to themselves. They have government. So if there's a bigger government, that's who's going to make them accountable, held accountable by. That's the point. Unelected officials telling you what you can do, changing the laws, you can't do anything about it. He says, but this type of crazy is always infinitely intriguing to me. So she replies back, and again, he said more, I can't read it. And just who would be governing the conduct of said nation, she says to him about Bush's speech. Let me guess, more non-elected people, just like the mini EU model, which has completely failed and is partially why UK voted to leave. The rest of the EU will be doing the same. They were all in the same boat. So he replies, paranoia. Did you notice what happened when the people of the UK decided they didn't want to be in the EU? They voted and removed themselves from the EU. Why the paranoia? In other words, they had a democratic system and they voted to leave and it was fine. So, where's that part where she answers that? Yeah, okay. There is no paranoia in regards to any of this, actually, and certainly not the UK voting to leave. Keep in mind that the only reason that the vote happened was because the Prime Minister told the people if they voted for him, he promised to hold a leave referendum vote. Had he not said that to get himself elected, it would have never have happened. And not only that, he could have decided at any time, you know what, I've changed my mind. You've already elected me. You can't get rid of me. So I said, so if that's the kind of governing you're talking about, the government system where people participate, the people had no say-so whatsoever about that, is what she told them. You just keep harping on about your paranoia about terms you don't understand, he says. You yourself explained how it worked, he says. You still haven't given any reference that defines what it is you think the New World Order even is. And you still haven't explained why you take issue with this statement by Bush, Papa Bush. And she says, based on current and past events, I think the New World Order is a system of one world government which rules over nations. The one world government will not consist of elected officials at the very top. They will be appointed, etc. As George Carlin once said, it's a big effing club, and you ain't in it. That was the response. She says, the U.S. Constitution will be null and void in such a system. He says, so it's based on your personal imagination. You have no references to support your ideas. I get it. Dude, we just sent you live video from the time of these people saying these things. I've shown you Rockefeller's book and what source, what else can I give you? So she says, I have some bonus content for you from one of the richest families on the face of the earth who works very closely with all of these politicians. See what he said in his memoirs about the New World Order. And that's when we posted that full link so you can go look at it yourself. And here's what the text said, and that was about Rockefeller saying, I stand guilty of wanting a New World Order. One world government that's against the American system. And she says, did you catch the part, quote, working against the best interests of the United States in his memoirs? And she says, so now what? By the way, read all of the page, which contains all of his quotes. It gets even better. He says, listen again, you are suffering from a bad case of miscomprehension. So she says, or how about the part where he said the supranational sovereignty of an intellectual elite and world bankers is surely preferable to the national auto-determination practiced in past centuries. David Rockefeller, Trilateral Commission, 1991. She also then says in the next post, world bankers and intellectual elite, this is better in his eyes? How about your eyes or the average American's eyes? Does a world run by criminal bankers sound good? She then replies again, just continuing or whatever, the same bankers that lobbied Congress to remove regulations so they could gamble on Wall Street, the same ones who got $800 billion in TARP funds, who also got trillions directly from the Federal Reserve, which is a private bank, and now the Fed has over $4.5 trillion of toxic assets it got from these banks on its balance sheet, which means you and I will ultimately owe this. He replies, we already have a world order run by strongmen rule and corrupt bankers. That is the point. That is the reason we need a new world order. So he's saying, because of this corruption and because of this fraud and all the crap that we've been talking about, we need a new world order system so that those people can be dealt with. And we're coming from the point of, dude, the problem child we're talking of, they're the ones telling us we need a new world order system. I just got done saying that. They're the ones who cause these problems and now are offering, here's a good solution. We're going to jail ourselves. We're going to imprison ourselves with this new system. We're offering it, so trust us. I just robbed you at gunpoint. Trust me, I'm going to give you the best advice of your life now all of a sudden. Kevin, what are you doing? What is this? We already have a world order run by strongmen rule and corrupt bankers. That is the point. That is the reason we need a new world order, he says. Final comment, my wife. So is it safe to say you would like to be ruled by bankers and elitists and lose the rights you have under the Constitution for, as it stands, a promise by these same people that their new world order is better? And he did send a final reply, but it had nothing to do with that, and wasn't even worth copying. I remember you emailed it to me, and I was like, it doesn't even matter. It doesn't even say anything that related to this. So you actually have somebody, look, that's that final statement of his. We already have a world order by strongman rule and corrupt bankers. That is the point. That is a reason. That's the reason we need a new world order. Kevin, you're going to get your new world order. And I got a little tip for you. Not a tip, but a little piece of advice. You're going to get that new world order, and you're going to get not what you thought you were getting. Kind of like Nancy Pelosi. We have this healthcare law. We don't want to show you what's in it yet. We need to pass the law first so that you can see what was in it. Like it was some kind of surprise party. Like, oh, cool, I got a new car. Like, we're all getting a big tax bonus back or something at that. Tax return time. No, actually, you're going to be paying more taxes, you dipshits. because you're not going to be able to afford it. And if you don't have insurance, you get fined through the IRS. And each year it keeps going up higher and higher, times each person in your family that doesn't have insurance. Well, if that's the kind of if that's the kind of bonus we're getting, and these people are telling us, here's your bonus, but we have a bigger bonus called the New World Order, my reply is thanks, but no thanks. I'll take the Constitution that you've been trampling on. Just we need to follow it. Just like Hillary Clinton, as I said, 100% certainty, she will not even kind of be charged with anything. FBI director, strangely enough, there was 122 or whatever it was classified emails. But we don't feel it was done on purpose, so we feel like we don't need to no charges filed. I would expect that they said we didn't find anything classified. However, some of the emails have already been leaked, and some that have been leaked were classified. So I think they realize we can't say that. People already know they're classified. Well, we're above the law anyways. I think everybody knows it. We'll just tell them there's absolutely a bunch of classified documents, and they can go pound sand. So that is why this is the prime example, and you may punch me in the face if you ever see me for this. I'll give you permission. If I was ever contacted by the elite, listen, J-Snip, we want you to stop doing these videos and telling them there's nothing that people can do. You know this. I would say, yeah, you're right. You're absolutely right. That's true. We want you to join the club. We got a little position for you over here. Whatever. We want you to join the club. You join the club? We just need you to stop doing YouTube videos. I'm here to tell you, especially after dealing with this nonsense on Facebook, I may have to join the club. I would rather be on that side than these bumbling, zombie, moronic idiots that I'm trying desperately to wake up, unplug from the matrix, only to find out they punch me in the face and plug themselves back in. As final comment, we already have a world run by strongmen, rule, and corrupt bankers. That is the point. That is the reason we need a new world order. This guy, I think, has 2 cords coming out of his neck, plugging him into the matrix. Wow, is all I can say. Truly American. Truly American.